June 30th, 2009, 1:50 a.m. The Indian Ocean, 15 kilometers off the coast of the Comoros Islands. A Yemenia Airways Airbus A310 hits the water at full engine power. 153 people on board. 152 of them are about to die. Bahia Bakari is 12 years old. She is sitting next to her mother. She cannot swim. When she opens her eyes, she is floating in the Indian Ocean in total darkness. There is no life jacket. Jet fuel is burning the inside of her throat, her lungs, her stomach. She can hear voices around her, people calling for help in Comorian. She calls back. She cannot see anyone. One by one, the voices go silent. Her mother is gone. Every passenger is gone. Every crew member is gone. Bahia is alone in the ocean, at night, clinging to a piece of wreckage, 12 years old, unable to swim. She will stay like this for over 9 hours. No one knows she is alive. No one is coming. How does a 12-year-old girl who cannot swim survive 9 hours alone in the Indian Ocean at night? And why did she spend every one of those hours believing she was the only one who didn't make it? This is the story of Bahia Bakari. That morning, Bahia Bakari is a 12-year-old girl living in Paris. She likes the things 12-year-olds like. She is traveling with her mother, Aziza Abudo, to the Comoros Islands, a tiny volcanic chain between Madagascar and the coast of Mozambique. It is a summer trip to visit family. Bahia's roots are Comorian. Her mother's roots are Comorian. This is a flight they have taken before. It is supposed to be the easy part of the summer. The route is not simple. Paris to Sana'a, Yemen, on a Yemenia Airbus A330. A stopover at Marseille to pick up more passengers. Then in Sana'a, everyone transfers to a different plane, an Airbus A310, registration 70-ADJ, for the final leg to Moroni, the capital of Comoros. The A330 they flew from Paris is newer, larger, modern. The A310, waiting for them in Sana'a, is 19 years old. It entered service in 1990 with a different airline entirely. France banned this specific aircraft from its airspace 2 years earlier because of what the French transport minister called a certain number of irregularities in its technical equipment. Yemen's transport ministry said the plane had passed inspection. Both things can be true, only one of them matters at 1:50 in the morning. The flight crew is all Yemeni. Captain Khaled Hajeb, 44 years old, has flown to Moroni 25 times. He has nearly 8,000 flight hours, over 5,000 of them on this type of aircraft. First Officer Ali Atef, 50, has over 3,000 hours on the A310. These are not beginners. They know this route, this airport, this approach. Flight 626 departs Sana'a and heads south across the Arabian Sea toward the Comoros. The flight time is roughly 4 hours. Bahia sits next to her mother. The cabin is full. Families, children, people heading home for the summer. Most of them from the Comorian diaspora in France. The same route, the same airline, the same transfer in Sana'a that hundreds of Comorian families take every year. As the plane begins its descent toward Moroni, the weather is not cooperating. An unseasonably strong cold front has pushed through the islands. Winds are gusting up to 64 kilometers per hour. The conditions are rough. Not impossible, but rough. The approach to Prince Said Ibrahim International Airport requires a visual circling maneuver at night, over water, in high winds. The crew has done it before, 25 times. They begin the approach. Bahia feels turbulence, but nobody around her reacts, so she tells herself it is normal. The runway is ahead. The island is visible. They are minutes away. The approach is unstabilized. The crew knows it. The instruments know it. The aircraft's ground proximity warning system is firing alerts into the cockpit. The crew does not react. Captain Hajib pulls the nose up, too far. The engines don't have enough thrust to compensate. The A310 is heavy, slow, and pitched at an angle that the wings cannot sustain. The airspeed drops. The stall warning activates. A loud, repeating alarm designed to be impossible to ignore. The crew ignores it. The plane stalls. At 1:50 a.m., the Airbus A310 drops out of the sky and hits the Indian Ocean approximately 14 kilometers north of Grande Comore. The crew had tried to climb back to 2,000 feet. They never made it past 770. A commercial aircraft hitting water at high speed does not land. The physics are closer to hitting concrete. The fuselage breaks apart on impact. Metal tears. Seats rip from their rails. The cabin disintegrates around 153 human bodies in a fraction of a second. Everything that was an airplane one moment becomes wreckage the next. Open ocean pouring in where the walls used to be. Bahia Bakari remembers none of this. In her testimony, she described feeling turbulence, then something like an electric shock running through her body, then nothing, a complete blackout between being seated next to her mother and floating alone in the Indian Ocean. The next thing Bahia knows, it is dark, her mouth is full of jet fuel, and the burning has already reached her lungs and stomach. The life jacket she never put on is gone with the rest of the cabin. Her first thought is not that the plane crashed. Bahia believes she pressed her forehead too hard against the window and fell out. The plane landed safely in Moroni, without her. Her mother is on the ground right now, alive, probably about to scold her for not wearing her seatbelt. That is the version of events a 12-year-old builds in the dark, alone, with nothing to tell her otherwise. Around her, voices, people calling out in Comorian. Some of them are alive. Bahia calls back, but the ocean is black, not dim, not shadowed, black. There is nothing to see, only sound and water and the taste of fuel. The voices keep answering, then they don't. One fades, then another, then silence. Bahia does not understand what is happening, that injuries, fuel ingestion, and exhaustion are dragging them under, one by one. All she knows is that the people around her were there, and now they aren't. Bahia never heard her mother among them. Now the ocean is quiet. Bahia is floating 15 kilometers from shore in total darkness, clinging to a piece of the airplane that carried her here. A larger piece of debris floats nearby. She tries to climb onto it. Her arms give out before she can pull herself up. A child alone in the ocean, in the middle of the night, holding onto wreckage, surrounded by silence where minutes ago there were voices. The Comoros Islands have no sea rescue capability. The search will not begin until daylight, and even then nobody expects to find anyone alive. Bahia Bakari is alive, the only one, and she has no idea. The ocean after a plane crash is not loud. It is quiet. The chaos lasted seconds. What comes next lasts hours. Bahia is holding onto a piece of wreckage. She does not know what part of the airplane it came from. It is big enough to keep her upper body above the surface, but not big enough to climb onto. She already tried. Her arms are burned. Her pelvis is fractured, though she does not know this yet. Her collarbone is broken, though she does not know this either. All she knows is that her body is not working the way it should, and the ocean is not letting her rest. The current pulls her. The waves push her sideways. Every swell lifts her up and drops her back. For a girl who can barely swim, every wave is a decision. Hold on or go under. The fuel in her stomach makes her nauseous. Salt water fills her mouth every time a wave breaks over her head. She swallows it because there is nothing else to do. Bahia does not scream for help. There is no one to hear her. The voices that were around her earlier are gone. The ocean is black in every direction. The only thing that exists is the wreckage under her hands and the water around her. She thinks about her mother. She still believes her mother is alive on the ground, worried about her. That belief, wrong in every detail, is the thing that keeps her hands on the wreckage. Time stops meaning anything. The darkness erases every reference point. Just waves, breathing, and the effort of keeping her fingers locked around the metal. At some point, exhaustion wins. Bahia falls asleep clinging to the debris. Not a conscious decision. Her body simply shuts down. Her fingers stay locked around the wreckage, the only part of her still working. When she wakes up, the sky is lighter. Dawn. She can see the coastline in the distance. Land is there, visible, real, but the water between her and the shore is rough, choppy swells, strong current. 15 kilometers might as well be 1,000 for a 12-year-old with a fractured pelvis who cannot swim. She sees a ship on the horizon. It is too far away. It does not see her. It passes and disappears. Bahia watches it go. Hours pass. The sun rises higher. The water gets warmer. her grip is weaker. She has been in the ocean for over 8 hours. At approximately 11 a.m. local time, more than 9 hours after the crash, a privately owned vessel called the Simacom 2 reaches the crash area. The ship normally carries passengers between Comoros and Madagascar. Today, it has been sent to search for wreckage and bodies. Nobody on board expects to find someone alive. They see something in the water. A small figure clinging to debris, moving. A crew member throws a life preserver toward Bahia. The water is too rough. She is too exhausted to reach for it. Her arms cannot extend anymore. A sailor named Maturafi Seleman Libunai jumps into the ocean, swims to her, and puts a flotation device into her hands. They pull them both aboard. Bahia is wrapped in blankets and given a hot drink. She is alive. Fractured pelvis, fractured collarbone, burns on her knees, facial injuries, hypothermia, 12 years old, 9 hours in the Indian Ocean, unable to swim, alone the entire time, and still believing her mother is waiting for her on the ground. The French government sends a Falcon 900 jet to bring Bahia back to Paris. She lands at Le Bourget Airport, where her father Kasim is waiting on the tarmac. She is 12 years old, covered in burns and fractures, and she is happy to see him. Because in her mind, the worst part is over. She fell out of a plane and survived. Her mother took a different route home. Everything will make sense soon. A psychologist at the hospital is the one who tells her 152 people died. Every passenger, every crew member. Her mother, Aziza Abudu, who was sitting next to her in seat row 11, is dead. Bahia did not fall out of a window. The plane crashed into the ocean and broke apart, and every single person on board except her is gone. Bahia Bakari is the sole survivor of Yemenia Flight 626. Till that moment in the hospital, she did not know. For 9 hours in the ocean, through the rescue, through the flight back to France, through the reunion with her father, she believed the plane had landed safely and that she was the one who had the accident. The truth did not come from the water or the wreckage or the silence where voices used to be. It came from a stranger in a hospital room. In 2010, Bahia published a memoir, Moi Bahia, La Miraculée. Steven Spielberg approached her about making a film. She said no, it would be too terrifying. In 2022, Yemenia Airways stood trial in Paris. The airline was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter, fined $224,000, and ordered to pay $998,000 in damages to the families. For 65 French citizens killed on a plane that France had banned from its own airspace 2 years before the crash, flying an approach the crew was never properly trained to execute, the fine worked out to roughly $3,400 per life. When asked about surviving, Bahia did not talk about the ocean. She did not talk about the wreckage or the darkness or the 9 hours alone. She said, "The hardest thing has been dealing with the grief for my mother. I was very close to her." She survived a plane crash into the Indian Ocean at night. She could not swim. She was 12. She held on for 9 hours while every other person on that flight died around her. And the thing that haunts her is not the water. It is the seat next to her that was full when she closed her eyes and empty when she opened them. Bahia Bakari survived the impossible. But what happens when someone falls 6 miles without a parachute and doesn't remember a single second of it? Watch the video on screen to know more about this incredible story.